This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. Parental discretion is advised.
There are so many streaming TV series.
So many channels.
I have a stream.
I just don't know which one to watch.
Is this show worth our time?
I have a stream.
I'm 3 seasons behind already. Is it even worth catching up?
I have a stream.
What's the series about? Well, my wife liked it too.
I have a stream.
What channel is it on? And who's in it?
I have a stream.
I want to watch something new, something original.
I have a stream.
I want to watch something that's action-packed.
I have a stream.
What's happening, barflies? It's the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and I have a stream, the streaming TV series review podcast. This is John Santucci. Call me Tooch. With me, as always, is Joey Two Scoops Ahoy, Joe Mandel.
What's up, man? I'm here, and we're back, and it's time for I Have a Stream. Third time is the charm. What's going on, Tooch?
I'm doing well. We're back, Joe. We're going to talk some Euphoria, episode 4, and some Stranger Things 3, episode 1. But first, Joe, we're going to order some drinks.
Absolutely. I'm thirsty. Oh, the medal's here, and you know what that means. It means Aaron Michalski is in the house, and he's ready to pour you a drink. Aaron, what's going on, buddy?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Happy to be here on Mixlr at Bears Barroom Radio. What are we drinking tonight? It's everything's on Aldo, so life is good.
Excellent. I was waiting for that news. Aaron, turn off Euphoria and pour me 2 fingers, 2 rocks.
2 fingers, 2 rocks. The rocks are important. Always fill your ice trays, everybody. Joey, what are we drinking, sir?
I'm going to take me a nice ice-cold Michelob Ultra.
Oh, getting classy on me. Okay. Yep, I think we got a couple of those here behind the bar counter.
It sounds so good. It tastes so good. Feels good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, let's get right down to talking Euphoria episode 4 and bring in our guest, Joe. So we got the crew back from last week.
We do. Let's bring them in Bears Barroom style.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as the platinum-piped voice of Bears Barroom. But little did you know, when it comes to lovemaking, this guy is known as the man who unites nations. This guy knows more about Chicago Bears football and television than Jason La Canfora does about being wrong all the time. Everyone, get out of your seats, especially all the ladies, and give it up. For me? Seriously, for me! I'm Dan Aguire. And don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, ladies.
Dan Aguire.
Dan Aguire. I'm shouting you out.
Great guy.
Oh, you know what that means. It means Dan Aguire is in the house. Dan, how you doing, my friend?
I haven't taken any Molly, but I do think I had an orgasm in this chair.
Oh, my. I've got a sound effect for that.
Cassie's breasts are so amazing. I probably could. Go ahead.
Let's watch episode 1.
Oh my God!
Right, just for that scene. Well, what we got you, Dan? What are you drinking, sir?
How about some original Coors? That's my favorite beer, actually.
Oh, right on. Banquet beer.
Yum. Yeah.
There it is. There you go, sir.
Thank you very much.
Euphoria episode 4. Aaron was looking for the Shook Ones part 1, but this episode is called the Shook Ones part 2. There is no part 1. It's named after a Mobb Deep song. To me, it was the weakest episode of Euphoria this season so far. Had ambition, fell flat, some good stuff, some bad stuff. Dan, what do you think?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you on that. Again, it seemed to lack suspense, and there didn't seem to be a lot of risks at stake other than with Cal, and if he was going to be exposed. And then, of course, by the end of the episode, we did finally meet Shy Guy. She got to figure out who he was, and it's Nate. And he was a pure fucking cocksucker like we thought he would be.
Not as bad as we thought he would be. There wasn't, we didn't. I mean, there's a couple of us thought last week he was going to be a little bit more violent, which he wasn't a sweetheart by any means, but it didn't take the nasty turn we thought it was gonna.
He was violent to his girlfriend, Maddie.
Oh boy, Jesus Christ!
Nate was
At the end of it, with the last shot of we see Maddie, she's kind of looking at the bruise on her neck. That's going to be a storyline, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to see that he's just an absolute, just a fucking wife beater, even if it's not his wife. He's going to be exposed for being a horrible human being, I think.
Yeah, taking after his dad, and the enfant terrible of Euphoria are up to no good again. They're taking mollies, like Dan said. They're riding the carousel, having a good time. Having a good time on the carousel. There was a little slut shaming, but the opening scene we really want to talk about, because I think that was probably the episodes have tried to give us backgrounds on every character, and last week we got the background of Kat, which is was a really funny scene. This week they gave us usually when they're younger kids, and this week we got Jules' backstory, and what a horrible backstory, man. Her mom tricks her into
terrible
a tour of a asylum for kids,
and we get to see that guy say, "quote I'm gonna rape you, cunt." That was like the first line she saw.
It was like visiting Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, right?
Right. And while we're on that scene, we'll say the DPE, the Dicks per episode, was at an all-time low at that one. So this was a good episode, if only for that reason.
That didn't factor into my rating, though, Aaron.
Oh. Maybe it should have. I don't know.
Right. More Cassie, less DPE for me. I'm sure for Dan as well.
Oh my God, Cassie's amazing.
She is a very pretty girl. And then, so Jules is on her tour of the asylum show, of the kitty home, whatever it was. For, she's she is, her parents, his parents are concerned, but it's kind of glossed over. We don't really feel how Jules is feeling. I know we get the scene where she cuts her wrists with the pop can, but
yeah.
I mean, this is Jules as a tween, and after she goes in as a boy for the most part. Would you say, Joe?
Yeah, she did, and it doesn't really explain the change other than she transitioned when she got out.
Right, I think that's part of why it fell flat. I mean, sure, it's a good scene and stuff, but we need to carry the, the gender transition a little farther for me. You want to get into, a little bit more of. They kind of brushed it off. They just said her, I hate my body or something.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Rue kind of, just playing devil's advocate, although I agree with you, was like, Jules didn't like her shoulders, didn't like her big feet, didn't like her knees, didn't like her back, and just the litany of body parts that she didn't like. So I think that was what was setting the stage for her transitioning.
Right, and afterwards, we're the most of the episode takes place at the carnival. In fact, I think the whole episode takes place at the carnival. We see Fezco and Ashtray getting ready for their. These guys are very entrepreneurial, Joe.
Yeah, man. Talk about
they're operating
a pretzel stand, right?
Right. It was like Pretzel Mania or something, was it? I think it was called Pretzel Mania. They had a food truck. It was like a food truck.
Once again, no police presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the fucking and all that shit. I mean, that if any of that was really going on at the carnival,
Yeah,
the police
no
would
way.
break that up immediately. I just don't see that was like I say, it was a bit unrealistic once again for me. I could suspend belief with the party in the first episode and the police not being called, but I mean, come on, cat fucking the guy that's all that. Somebody would have complained. Somebody would have seen it.
Dan, have we seen a single police officer in this show?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have.
No, we have not.
Yeah.
I thought of that when you were talking about the food stand there. I think the police would be onto that shit. You know, like, they're actually selling drugs outside the pretzel stand. I think the police are a lot savvier than the way they're being portrayed or ignored in the show.
I got to tell you, though, I got hungry for a pretzel, Joe. Those pretzels were giant, man. They looked really good.
And they threw them right in the garbage.
They threw the pretzel right in the garbage. I even, you know what went through my mind, Joe? I was like, it's probably not that dirty. I could go in there and get it.
Well, that's another point. That's another point. And the one time I'm actually on Nate's side, and again, me being the guy, it's fine that she's dressed like that, but Jesus God, Maddie's character is supposed to be, what, 16?
Right, yes.
She really was not a hooker. Maybe that's too strong, but she was dressed like...
It's pretty close.
Yeah, she's dressed like she's about to go get sodomized in some porn, you know?
Yeah, her and Kat were dressed to kill.
I didn't even recognize Kat at first, to be perfectly honest with you. When they're on the Ferris wheel, I was like, who is that? And it took me a good couple of minutes to really realize who it was. She's really transformed within these last couple of episodes.
They were together. They went to the carnival together, Maddie and Kat. And they were dressed, they were dressed to score. So,
that leads me to a question for you. I know it's your show. It's your show, but I want to ask a question. Remember in the last episode, we were hearing about Kat's boyfriend had dumped her, Daniel.
Yes.
Daniel is also the character, as by name anyway, that is riding when Cassie has the orgasm. She's with Daniel. I wonder if that's Daniel.
Yes, it has to be, because it looked like him too.
Well, she's with Daniel, and she when she comes.
Right, good catch, Dan. I didn't that slipped by me because last time we saw Daniel, he was 10, but right. So yeah, that and it looked like him too. It's just a little more grown up version.
I'm breaking up with you. Love Daniel.
I love Daniel. By the way, we're breaking up. Love Daniel. But I want to go back to Cal because Cal is there and he's in the middle of his chili cook-off.
The best goddamn chili for 5 straight years.
Right. He's going for number 6. He's going for his 6-peat. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
But, of course, Jules confronts him. She tells Rue, this is the guy from the motel, the old man. The daddy figure from the motel. And Rue doesn't believe her, of course, because she says that's Nate Jacobs' dad. He owns half this town. Right? He owns half the town, Aaron. And he... later on, he's flipping through his porn discs. Now, I don't think it ever went any further than that. Aaron, what do you think? What was a disc missing?
So because remember in one of the first episodes, Nate knew about the collection. He knew really young, or he knew when he was pretty young. So I'm wondering if, since obviously he knows who. Since he knows who the girl he's been talking to is, that maybe he found that disc while he was flipping through and he stole it. Because obviously I'm sure he was looking forward to see that one specific disc, and it looks like there was the one missing.
I think he was going to watch it again,
Jules.
Dan, or Dan, was he going to watch?
Disagree. I think he was so paranoid that he was going to go find Jules' disc and fucking trash it. He's going to destroy it.
Yeah, but he couldn't find it, right, Joe?
Right, because his son has it.
His son has it. Okay.
Yeah.
When Jules was talking to his dad, Nate was eyeballing his dad the whole time too, if you notice that. So I think he obviously, the way that he was eyeing his dad when his dad was talking to Jules, he knows that something's up, and I'm thinking he knew about the disc and probably, like Dan said, probably has it.
Right. And there's another guy at the chili stand besides Cal and Nate and Nate's mom, and there is there's another guy who explains who Jules is, right? And Nate and the other kid explain who Jules is to Cal, and of course Cal has already had some experience with Jules.
Spit.
But but he was gonna go back and probably destroy that disc. So that, Dan, do you think in the next or in the future episode this disc is gonna come back? Chekhov's disc.
I don't know if you saw the preview for next week that HBO showed after the credits last night. But yeah, they showed this father and son having a talk, and he says something like, "This has destroyed my life, son, this secret," or that's a paraphrase. So I would say, I'm guessing, my hypothesis is the bridge to that conversation is he's going to go find out where his disc is, his son has it, and then they have to have that awkward talk.
Now, Nate supposedly, threatening Jules at the end of the episode with turning her in for sending pornographic images of herself to Nate's phone. Talking. Joe, do you think Nate knows the child pornography laws in his state, or is he just bullshitting?
I think I wouldn't put it past him to just be completely bullshitting, but regardless, I think he scared the crap out of her. But the thing that the thing that I can't get over is, like, she said she wasn't going to come forward, and then he comes out like this and just kind of rattles the cage. Like, it seems like this is going to ruin his family, as opposed to before he would have just left well enough alone, nothing would have happened.
Right. No, like when he confronts Jules at the lake, he was kind of like trying to feel her out. He's like, okay, we're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend now, but Jules was having none of it. She was like, oh no, what a nightmare. It's Nate, right? So after that, Nate kind of turned, he saw he wasn't going to get anywhere with Jules, and he turned into, violent, blackmail-y, he's the douche of the show.
It's basically unfortunate because I felt like his character had a moment, an opportunity there to have some redemption.
Yep.
Not in a religious sense. I just meant in a morality sense. He could have become a good guy there and just said, look, I know I fucked up. I know I was a dick. Yeah. But you've talked to me for the last month or 2 months, and you know the real me that I've had to hide. And you understand that because you had to hide your sexuality. Yeah. You felt like you were in a different body. I have to be this jock, but I actually have substance. He could have gone that route, and actually she would have empathized with him, but instead by just being like, oh, I'm gonna choke you and I'm gonna threaten you, and then he just ruined it forever.
He ruined it. Yeah, and I think he was trying to tell that to Jules, kind of like, I don't think she understood what he was saying. He just didn't get his point across that, hey, we're both kind of similar. I've got to pretend to be this. You've got to pretend to be that. The real me is the guy who I've been texting with, you've been texting with. And
that's
just
the way I wanted it to go, I think.
I think everybody did too. But I'm not, I don't think it could have never worked, because then you still have the Rue and Jules, it's basically this love triangle, with imaginary shy guy 118, Rue and Jules, and they went the way because after the meeting with Nate, where Jules is fortunate to escape with her life, I'm sure she runs home visibly shaken. I could be a sex offender, or she runs in and climbs into bed with Rue. And they end up kissing again. So Joe, where do you think this relationship is going with Rue and Jules?
Man, I asked myself that a lot when I was watching the show, and
that's a big question.
I just think it's destined for heartbreak, right? Because that she likes to hook up with random dudes and older men and whatever, and I think it's going to bother Rue, and ultimately they're going to end up apart and not friends anymore. I think it's just destined to fall apart, really.
Aaron, what do you think?
Well, I can kind of see that, but then there's also the part where you're looking back, and Rue was talking about how she fantasized being with Jules, and she said, I see us in a small crappy apartment in New York, living in the same bed, having relationships with everybody else, but then coming back home together. So it's kind of one of those where I think she and Jules understand each other so well that I can see them ending up together and Jules still doing her thing while she's figuring herself out, kind of a deal, because obviously Rue's got enough shit on her own that she's dealing with.
I like that.
But it's, that's the one thing when what you were saying there, Joe, is they're destined to fail, but then, Rue said something about she fantasizes about them being together always, even though they may see other people. So maybe they'll do their own thing, but still always have each other.
What do you think, Dan?
If I could backtrack 1 second and then come back to this point too. What I honestly thought was going to happen with Cal and Nate. I sort of thought that Nate would get with Jules, and I don't think he's going to now, but I thought maybe he would get with Jules and almost have, what was the kid from the Rams that got drafted and admitted he was gay? Was it Michael Sam? Yeah, I thought you might have. I thought you'd have one of those moments where you have the dad is pissed at him, like, you've embarrassed our family, but at the end, the last episode, he embraces his son and says, it's okay, and then you sort of have a nice, like, he's out and he's happy, and you have a good twist on the end, but I don't think that's going to happen now. With regards to what could happen here, because the show gets a little dark, I could see, because Jules is still technically has the dick, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely. So in the first episode, you saw it.
Right, and you saw her nipples. You saw her nipples in this one, which was kind of... I didn't expect that. But... let's say maybe they do a little drug here or there, although Jules doesn't seem to be, whatever the reason, whatever gets them romantic. Let's just say, even though she said she wasn't a top, which I think in that community means that she doesn't like to give it, but let's just say she did for whatever reason. Let's say some of the sperm got to the egg, fertilizes an egg, and then Rue has her child.
Wow.
And maybe that's the point... maybe that's the point of the story in the end, is she's telling the story because she keeps saying, maybe she shouldn't have told me that she was reminiscing or dreaming about that New York apartment. Mm-hmm. Like, she's telling the story later, but she was always fixated on Jules, but she's telling it from a future perspective. So why would she be doing that if she had her child?
Yeah. And do you think we'll see like a future perspective of that in later episodes?
How many episodes are in this season?
There is 8 episodes.
8, yeah. So we're halfway
we have
through.
4 more hours to go. Yeah, there's a chance I could see that happening in the last episode.
Right. I'm not sure Euphoria is that type of show, though, with a happy ever after. It's more of a...
But it wouldn't be happy. She would be with a child without a dad, without a mom, or whatever. I don't know.
Well, guys, here's
friends together.
Well,
but it could be positive because Rue could say she kicked her drug habit because she has the little one to take care of.
Sure.
Anyway, go ahead.
Wow, there's an idea. But another theory that I've heard floating around the internet, guys, and I want to get your reaction to this, is that the whole story is told from Rue as the narrator because she is dead. She is gone. And she's telling the whole thing and has been dead the entire time. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I don't think so.
We'll look for clues in the coming episode, but
did any of the rumors say why that's a theory? Did they have anything pointing towards that? Like, to me, there's no merit for that just because somebody came up with it.
Yeah, just because they've been talking about, like, she knows everything that happens in the story, even with other characters that she has not interacted with. And then also because I don't know if you guys noticed, but like they mentioned Rue killing herself like 3 to 4 times an episode, and the article I was reading was saying.
You mean like she's gonna kill herself? Like when she was talking to Gia at the carnival with a bunch of people she was hanging out with.
Yeah, like that, or hey, you want to kill yourself? I'm not gonna let you kill yourself. Like, that's been said over and over again on the show to Rue. So the article I was reading was just saying that they're dropping hints at either foreshadowing or the fact that she's been gone the whole time.
The reason that I reject that, I don't want to say I repudiate it, but the reason I don't think that's going to happen is because I see season 2 developing because of this show. So and Zendaya's got to be a part of season 2 to make it a hit.
Yeah. That never stopped 23 Reasons Why from coming out with new seasons on Netflix. So, I mean, they could always come out with another one. But just, it sounds a little thin to me for whatever reason. I don't know if I believe that. I'm on Dan's side with this one. I don't think so.
Well, speaking of Rue, we did get to find out a little bit about why she sought out Ali, and they had their pancakes, right? Or Ali bought her pancakes, I think, right?
Yes, he did.
One of the few scenes that happened outside the carnival, besides the flashback with Jules, the scene with Ali, and it looks like Ali wants to play more of a big brother to Rue. Do we think?
He told her to cut the shit. Why'd you call me? What do you really need?
Right.
I like that. Yeah, he does seem like he doesn't have a nefarious motive. I enjoy that part of it. At least he is a stand-up guy from what we can ascertain.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I hope we get to see more of that actor. Love Coleman Domingo on Fear the Walking Dead. So after Rue and Jules confronts Cal, Rue is charged with finding her sister and bringing her home before 10 or at 10. And Gia looks grown up, a little grown up at the carnival, and she is trying drugs for the first time. Aaron, what'd you think of Gia? Is she going to keep down the path of her sister, or?
Man, I mean, if anything, that could be a real catalyst for change in Rue. I think there's been a bunch of things, obviously, like Joey was saying, you're going to kill yourself. That's one reason she doesn't want to die, could be. But I really think maybe if she starts seeing her sister go down this path, and that could be a real good thing for her to change her ways and really kind of see, this is, maybe she can see what her mom's going through on the other side of it for a change.
Right, and those are the two twin brothers, I think, that were
in the first couple ones.
In the second episode, I think, when they were passing around Kat's sex tape, or without her knowledge, they were the ones who were charged with getting the tape back or deleting it or whatever.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. But
real quick question: speaking of sex tape, whatever happened with Cassie's nudes? I thought for sure that was going to be a big deal in one of the upcomings, and it hasn't come up yet.
Right, and I think she's only sent them to McKay.
Well,
right?
I'm wondering
she has a private Snapchat, of course.
So then, can somebody fill me in on what it was between her and McKay, where McKay said, "Don't act like you don't know"?
No, didn't they say in the first episode that she had a video? They were watching a video of her getting fucked.
Okay.
So,
right. Okay.
And then McKay's playing that. At least where I grew up, all the guys would pretend that they never had eaten pussy around other guys.
Sure.
So that's they're like, I don't do that shit. So he's afraid, he's embarrassed to say that he's dating her because Nate's gonna make fun of me or whatever because of that sex tape. I think that's what they're. If you don't mind me saying, I had a theory when you all were talking there.
Yeah.
Perhaps, and it made me think of American History X. I don't know why, but did you see American History X?
Great movie.
Yeah. Okay, well, like Edward Norton's character gets the redemption, but it's too late because Edward Furlong dies at the end of it, right? So, oh no, all my problems are have affected my younger sibling. So what I'm saying to you is maybe the person that dies is Gia.
Ooh.
And maybe that is why, because remember, you could say Ali foreshadowed that, because he said, remember in the last episode, like, who was it that found you? Yeah, how old was she? So maybe we're foreshadowing that she is the one who's going to have the drug habit now, and Rue sort of gets her redemption, but in the end it's too late because G is the one who fucks up.
Damn.
Wow, my mind.
Yeah, he did say that was something for a 10-year-old girl to see. Her older sister, lying in her own vomit. I think Ali said that line last episode 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right? Maybe that's foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Very
possible. Very, very possible. So let's talk about. We haven't hit up what Cassie and McKay are up to, and McKay, obviously, Dan says doesn't want to admit that they're a thing because of the sex tape of Cassie. But are Cassie and McKay over? Do you think, Dan?
No, she likes him too much, and I think in the end, McKay will be, he'll stand up for himself. I think I mentioned this to you before we went on. I don't want to take up too much time, but why is Cassie, like, when you look at the credits, she's at the bottom, and Lexi's listed second? I know it's because Judd Apatow's Maud Apatow's dad, so you got some nepotism, but her character does nothing to the show, adds nothing to the show. I don't know why she's up here and Cassie's down here. Plus, Cassie has those incredible breasts.
Yeah, she hasn't done much except fill a Tylenol bottle with her urine.
Yeah.
She gets second billing. I don't know. Is it alphabetical
and her character
order,
does
maybe?
nothing.
Who's billed first? Zendaya?
Yes.
Okay.
Naturally and well deserved.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic in the show. She's fantastic in Spider-Man: Far From Home. They're good. We'll be seeing lots of her in the coming years. And Cassie is mad at McKay. McKay leaves. Cassie hooks up with Maddie, and they do some ecstasy at the carnival.
They do Molly. Molly.
Right, which is
ecstasy. Isn't that ecstasy? Yeah.
Is it? I thought it was different.
Yeah. No, it's the code name or nickname.
Yeah,
for
it's a street name.
I learned something new today, guys.
Educational programming here on Bears Bar Room.
Right, they take some ecstasy. It was a little bit too strong for Cassie. You know, they bought from Ashtray, one dose each, and Cassie has a nice ride on the merry-go-round, a very loud ride, and gets slut shamed. After that was kind of funny, all the faces in the crowd, all the different reactions. There were some old men going,
Yeah. See, that would have been the perfect time to have a guy creepily with his dick out right there.
Let's not give him any more ideas.
Just watching it, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I had enough ding dongs in that show.
We had a couple girls mad at their boyfriend, air quotes, like Kat and Ethan, who's the other, kind of the boy that Kat likes.
He's her science partner or something, right?
Right. Her lab partner or something. Yeah.
And he didn't do anything wrong. Like the girl just asked him for a favor, you know?
Yeah, she was like, "Can you just ask your sister if she can take my shift at work?" Mm-hmm. That was it, you know. And Kat gets angry and drops her. They were coladas again, Joe. She likes the coladas, right? They were coladas.
They were.
It's nice to see that Kat still has her colada addiction, right, Dan?
Yeah. Did you all get the impression that she actually did come and then lie to the guy because she's kind of smirking when she leaves because he's like, "Oh, did you come?" And she goes, "No."
Well,
you never know. Yeah.
She has a really I'm enjoying this expression on her face while the fucking's happening, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's watching him. You know, she.
I think her character's learning. Her character's really learning how to control men.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, well, she's got. She has her online friend, right? That she's getting a lot of lessons from.
I don't want to talk about him.
I'm kind of an odd bird. That guy.
Well, let's talk about Kat's encounter there. I know Aaron and I were messaging a little bit before the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, what's a teenage drama without a little bit of teenage pregnancy? So that's got to happen. I mean, it has to happen.
Rape.
Well, that there you go for sure. Yeah. But I mean,
she tells him too. I'm only 16.
Yeah, and he still goes for it. That part that was kind of
squeamish for me. Obviously, he it doesn't seem to matter to him, even though
really not.
Yeah, and of course Nate talks about the the laws in the state. So maybe we're gonna have a arrest of the carnival guy.
Well, the Carney baby. His name is Cletus Jr.
Right, the Carney baby. All right, so there were some great shots in this. It was really beautifully shot, especially the lakefront, and then quiet and dark at night, and running through the carnival. There were fireworks, behind Rue and Jules, and looked like it was coming out of their hair. That was really a great shot. And but overall, just this episode just didn't have the I don't know, I guess the dangerous feel, the element of danger that the other ones had. It tried, but it kind of, at the lake at the end, build up, but the whole carnival scene was just kind of I don't know, Riverdale high with drugs.
Nice. Yeah, it was. It really was.
It was a little weak. I hope it picks up. We've gone from like Mouse the drug dealer and Cal beating up Jules in a hotel room, or the rough sex and fentanyl off the knife, and a bunch of other elements of danger. Don't know. This episode felt a little confused. So, where do you guys think the show's going to go next? How about Dan? In the future episodes, what do you predict?
Well, one more comment on what you just said prior to that. I think maybe the carnival was a way to try to average out all the unrealistic settings that, like the things that you were just talked about that happened in the first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe the carnival episode was just, the purpose was to say, okay, they are kids.
Yeah.
So even if they are fucking and sucking and doing this or whatever, they would still do something like going to a carnival. So maybe that was the whole thing, just to kind of give it a little bit more of appreciation for reality in that regard. But where do I see it going? Like, I'm not really sure. I think something dramatic will happen. Like we were saying, maybe somebody dies. Maybe there's a pregnancy. There's got to be a shock. At the very end, there's going to be something that has like a wow factor and the reason that we're getting this backstory.
Right. So season 1 ends on a cliffhanger. Great. I love it.
Maybe not a cliffhanger so much, but it's got to be something that's like a payoff for what we've been witnessing is what I'm trying to say. I think they have to give us something. It's almost like if we were watching soap operas, which again, not that I would ever watch a soap opera, but I'm just saying, but like, you know, you get like a month of the story, then at the very end, you want the payoff for like, well, who murdered Dr. Stone or whatever the fuck they would do on a soap opera. At some point, you have to pay off your story, and I think that's what will happen.
All right.
Whether we like it or not, I don't know.
Joe, what do you think?
Well, I think it's going the way of Tyler's dad, which was Eric Dane's character. You know, I think he's going to have that talk with his son, like we mentioned earlier, and you know, his son is obviously very confused, doesn't know what's going on, and somehow that DVD is going to get out, I think, and it's going to cause chaos in the community, and then it's going to leave Rue confused, and I'm sure she'll get to watch the video and be like grossed out by it, and I think it's just going to open a cage of emotions, and then I think Kat's going to be pregnant, and I think that's going to be a whole story, kind of getting to the bottom of that, and I can't figure out what's going on with Cassie really, because she has no idea what she wants. I think she's just going to kind of go hook up with a bunch of random guys, and I think her nudes are going to leak again. And then
I disagree if you don't mind me jumping in. I think that her character wants love. I think she's doing all these things because she wants a guy to love her, and she feels if she's blowing him or fucking him or whatever, that he'll be more apt to showing her respect, which in a lot of ways is the wrong approach. But I think, I'm not trying to contradict you per se, I just feel that her character really does have a tangible want, and that's, she just wants him to say, hey, you're my girl, I love you. That's all she wants.
I'm on board with that. I totally agree with that. And when I say I don't know, she doesn't know what she wants, I mean like she doesn't know, you know, who she wants, because she doesn't have that kind of guy in her life.
Accurate. I agree.
Right. Cassie had the most misfortunate episode or unfortunate episode, I think, here. You know, she gets mad at McKay for kind of ditching her because she's a little bit slutty. Then she decides to go and do ecstasy, and then she, you know, does, you know, something slutty on the carousel, and then gets slut-shamed for it. So she kind of, you know, didn't know what she wanted, or actually did, but forgot what she wanted, and then kind of paid a little bit of a price for it with the crowd reaction that she has to run away in shame. But I don't know, Dan could be right with the just wants to be loved. If McKay would have shown her any kind of love, she never would have gone off and did the ecstasy.
And one more thing to contemplate. I don't want to just keep shitting on what he said. I mean, no disrespect.
No.
But I think Kat's character now is making a lot of money doing her internet thing. If she got pregnant, I could just see her having an abortion.
Yeah,
she'll make the bald guy with the small cock pay for it.
Yeah. I'm kind of an odd bird. Kind of an odd dude.
I kind of have a 2-inch penis. I don't think most people do.
Aaron, what do you think? Somebody gonna die? Somebody gonna? I don't know.
What
do you think?
I feel like somebody does have to die. it's kind of, everybody, we keep saying that this is kind of the downer episode, but I mean, considering how intense the other ones have been, maybe we should count our lucky stars. Maybe we got a little bit of a breather, and it could be the calm before the storm, too.
It felt like it was directed by someone else because it was.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Jacques Vallée directed the first 3 episodes. This one was directed by Sam Levinson, the creator of the show. So it definitely did feel like a whole different show.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I mean, that can certainly screw up the pacing of it, and obviously that could be why we think it's so different, because obviously it is if somebody else was in the director's seat and that kind of thing with it. But it wasn't bad by any means. I just think it was kind of a lull in the action, which is as crazy as it's been so far. Could be not so bad for us, but I think it's going to ramp up, and I think there's got to be at least one pregnancy, and we're thinking that it's Kat. Dan came out of left field and said maybe Rue's pregnant with Jules' baby. That could be interesting too.
Yeah.
But it's one of those two that I kind of wonder if somebody's got to die. And not somebody has to. I'm not, decreeing it, but I think that would make the most sense for this kind of a show. There's got to be some kind of a payoff.
I got one for you again.
Yeah.
Imagine this hypothetical. I was mentioning American History X earlier, so you had Edward Norton's character again, gets the redemption, it's too late, Edward Furlong dies. Well, maybe it's Cal who gets the redemption and realizes, hey, I've been hiding my sexuality, all this, but it's too late because Nate goes all postal and he kills Jules because he can't deal with his conflicted sexuality.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking along that line. I'm with you on that. I think that Nate is the one who's going to be the explosive powder keg, if you want to say, for this show. He's a bomb waiting to go off. Don't know what he's gonna do. To me, he's the weakest actor on the show.
Really?
I didn't like his performance in the last episode. I thought it was weak.
He was so great in the one where he beat the hell out of the actual Tyler.
He was excellent. This one, I don't know.
You wonder if that's the director thing happening too. Maybe they just didn't do a good job with his character.
Did you know he's actually an Australian?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
He's got a heavy Aussie accent.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
He does a great American.
Ordered a Foster's.
We can order it next time.
Well, no, you can order one. You go ahead.
I want a Foster's right now. God damn it.
Are you done with your course?
Coming right up.
I'm done. I've been done. You know what made this episode feel a little bit different as well? Is that Rue almost felt like a secondary character. Other than the narration.
And you know what else was different was that she did not narrate at all in this episode. Normally she
did. Yeah, she did.
No, she did not. She didn't narrate at all. What part did
she was narrating the part about Jules in the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning. That's true.
Okay. Yep, she was.
Was it her? I didn't think it was her.
Yeah, she was telling us Jules' backstory.
Okay. All right.
When she went to the hospital.
Jules' backstory, but she didn't narrate over the rest of the show, which sometimes she does. But I guess at the carnival it felt different then. Yeah. All right. That's basically it. Unless you guys got anything else, we'll get into some Stranger Things, Joe.
Before we get into Stranger Things, too,
we got to do some news too.
That's right. You know what time it is? It's time for the news in 2 scoops or less.
2 scoops ahoy!
Ahoy, mateys!
What? You look like Mary Poppins. Is he cool? Hell yeah, he's cool. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
It's entertainment news in 2 scoops or less.
Holy smokes!
That's right, Barflies. This is the part of the show where I give you the entertainment news in 2 scoops or less. Coming up first, on Friday, Hulu added a yada yada button for Apple TV users to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Seinfeld. Clicking the button fires up a random playlist of Seinfeld episodes. So, no soup for you! All right, and coming up next, Netflix has vowed to curb on-screen smoking because of backlash from Stranger Things and the amount of smoking in that show.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s. Anti-tobacco groups have put out any hope of a normal smoking show in the future.
That makes sense, though. Well, the kids watch that show, man. I know a little tidbit here. My nephew and nieces were in town over the weekend, and that show, Stranger Things, dropped at 3 a.m. July 4th or 5th. Was it July 4th? My 11-year-old nephew, he watched the entire 8 episodes all night long, didn't sleep. So he loves the show. I think he's going on 12. He might be 12 now.
Well, Tooch.
So we don't want him learning to thinking that smoking is cool, I guess.
Well, Tooch, that is a perfect segue into my next and final bit of news in 2 scoops or less. Stranger Things Season 3 has broken the 4-day viewing record with 40.7 million views since July 4th. And out of those 40.7 million, 18.2 million have already completed the 8th season.
God, I've only watched one episode.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through. But you wonder, too, how much of that has to do with it being put out on a holiday weekend.
I'm sure it's got everything to do with it.
For sure.
I'm sure. Very smart. I mean, it worked, obviously. If they got record numbers off it, then good for them.
It worked, and I'm one of the 18.2 million that finished the season this weekend.
Wow. I wish I had the time. I was very busy. Well, all right. We're going to get into some Stranger Things here in a minute. We thank our guest, Dan Aguire, for dropping by again. Hopefully you come back.
Well, can I listen?
Yeah.
Of course.
Here's my challenge to you. Here's my challenge, and I'm going to shut up. A different approach, because like I said, I've been talking my fucking ass off about Euphoria because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to sell me on this, because I've not watched one episode of this show, not one.
All right.
Every time I see those kids, whether they're on Jimmy Fallon or whatever, I'm always like, I just roll my eyes and think, I'm not impressed with these kids. I don't like these kids. I don't want to watch a show with these kids. I don't know why everybody likes these kids. Fuck these kids. So tell me why I should give a shit about these kids.
I'll give you one good reason first, Dan, and this is the theme song, and it's a badass song.
Great.
So here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Little X-File-ish.
It's very 80s.
It sounds like the score from the X-Files when David Duchovny would be getting a blowjob.
Wow. I can't get that image out of my head.
Was it an alien or was it just a finger?
The X-Files. Triple X.
David Duchovny defiled up his ass. Anyway, go ahead.
And we've done Memory Stream for X-Files and Seinfeld on this show.
I'm more of a Curb Your Enthusiasm guy, but anyway, I'm going to mute the mic and listen.
Well, Stranger Things, boy, if you grew up in the 80s, I can't think of a better show, because I for one, really, when I watched episode 1 of season 3, I'm like, boy, I'm really glad to be back in this world. I love the Stranger Things world, the 80s, the kids, the discovering of things,
are all
the friendships
seasons in the 80s, or all seasons? Okay.
They all take place in the 80s. There's 80s music. You got the Clash, you got the Cars, all sorts of great tunes. And, of course, there's that Joe played that great synth track. And you have a lot of synthesizer music like that. A lot of nods to 80s horror films. There was in this episode, the very first episode of season 3, there was some Fast Times at Ridgemont High reference. Actually, 2 references in this movie to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Now if you like X-Files, you probably will like Stranger Things as well. It has that kind of government experiment, creatures from another dimension terrorizing a small town, and 4 kids band together, go on an adventure to solve the mystery. And they meet a girl who's escaped. She's a part of a laboratory experiment. She's about their age. They become friends. And when season 3 opens, the kids, it was a little bit shocking for me, Aaron. The kids were, they're older. You know, noticeably, visibly older. They're taller and ganglier.
Yeah. Their voices, too, is the one thing that I picked up on.
Their
voices changed quite a bit.
They're going into high school. Mike did not turn out to be that attractive of a youth.
No, I mean,
wow.
They're all kind of at that age, though, too, where they're just that awkward phase, but they haven't really grown into themselves, kind of a deal. But there's definitely, I mean, Mike especially, they're kind of an unfortunate look creature at the moment. And I know what it's like to do that, so it's kind of tough. It's like, you poor fella.
Well, this is like a Ramones wannabe.
Well, this is the part of the show where we remind everybody this is children, and Tooch is talking about how handsome they are.
No, well, I mean, he looks like I don't know, Ramones gone bad. He's like whiny. You know, Mike was like cool in the first couple seasons. This one, he's kind of a jerk. You know, I don't know. It's just the first episode. All he wants to do is make out with Elle. That was a great scene where Hopper discovers that they're kind of getting close to having sex in his cabin. But
I hope not.
Yeah, his speech to Mike in the squad car or his truck or whatever was great. But of course we have the threat from beyond. And what'd you think of the cold open, Joe?
You know, man, I was not expecting it at all.
Did you think you were watching Chernobyl?
No, I did not. But I did not. But I was kind of confused for a minute because at first I was like, did I turn on the right show? And it's, of course, you know, it opens up in what's probably Soviet Russia, and they're running all these experiments, and I was a little confused, but finally I'm like, okay, they're linking it back. It's some sort of science experiment. They've got some sort of link to the Upside Down in Russia.
Right.
But one thing I will say is they didn't explain exactly what the heck they're looking for and why.
Well, I want to ask Aaron, when this opens, Stranger Things Season 3 opens, it says June 28th, 1984. And of course, we're in Russia. We're watching them try to punch a hole into the other dimension with their machine. It doesn't quite, kind of works, kind of blows up. A bunch of Soviet guys get melted, kind of like... I
actually brought that up in the scene when the laser cuts loose in the wall. I'm like, I like how that dude's literally 3 feet from this giant plasma ray shooting out. And he's just chilling there like nothing's wrong. I got a kick out of that.
They were melted. A lot like the rats. We'll talk about them later on. Yeah, the rats at the abandoned steel mill. And then the Russian commander has one scientist killed, and tells the other scientist, you have 1 year.
Right.
Now, it's 1 year later, isn't it? When we see the kids. It's 1985. They don't show us a date. But the kids go to the movie theater and they watch Day of the Dead, which came out in 1985. So I assume that 1 year has passed and the Russians have perfected their machine to punch a hole into the other dimension. And that's how... the kids are experiencing the things they're experiencing in this first episode. Joe, what do you think? Is it 1 year later now?
It's 1 year later for sure.
It's 1985 now. Is that what? Did you get that impression?
It's definitely 1985, and some big things have happened. Why can I not think of the name of the town, guys?
Hawkins, Indiana.
Hawkins, Indiana. A lot of big things have happened in Hawkins. They've opened a giant mall called Starcourt, which is amazingly 80s. And,
it was great.
And because
that mall was so awesome.
The mall is amazing, and because of how amazing the mall is, it's hurting small business inside of the town. Right. And that's kind of where some of the big story picks up.
Right, and Nancy, of course, is Nancy and Jonathan have jobs. They're going to work. They work at the local newspaper. Was the Hawkins Gazette or something?
The Hawkins Post, I believe.
The Hawkins Post, okay, and none of the men that work there, and of course who are smoking at work, because it is the 80s. One of the guys played by Jake Busey, Gary Busey's son. He's one of the rude guys who hassles Nancy. She's got this great idea about story about all the businesses that are going bust on Main Street in Hawkins. Hawkins looks like it has a pretty cute little downtown, but the mall is putting everybody out of business, kind of like Amazon is doing to malls now, where we just see one small fish getting swallowed by a bigger fish, getting swallowed by a bigger fish. And here we are in 2019, and Amazon is putting everybody out of business. But maybe perhaps a metaphor for the situation of our economy right now. But the mall is great. It looks totally 80s. Joe, what'd you think of where Steve is at, his job at the mall?
I will tell you that the name of the ice cream shop is my favorite of all time because of the name. It's called Scoops Ahoy. And you guys can just call anytime you want to get my attention. Just say Scoops Ahoy.
Right now, Steve. In season 1, Steve was like the character that you hated. You know?
Yeah.
By season 3, Steve is probably my favorite character.
Oh, he's the best.
He's an excellent character. He's the poofy feathered haircut guy. You know, he turned out he's broken up with Nancy because Nancy left him for Jonathan, and he's trying to date whoever could date him. But of course, his work uniform has put a bit of a damper on his dating life. Aaron, what do you think of the scene with Aaron and his coworker Robin?
Yeah, you know, almost immediately with that first scene, like my girlfriend, we were watching. I was like, those two are gonna end up together. He's going after all these pretty girls. I mean, this how 80s is that? You know, the guys talk about all the pretty girls and the the unassuming, I guess we could say, female end up being the love interest of the movie, or as we're talking now, the show. But I'm thinking that's going to happen. She's obviously proved her worth later on. I won't spoil any more because not everybody's that far. But I think that's definitely going to happen between the two of them.
Right. Another thing I think might happen, as you notice, the kids we mentioned, they're growing up now. They're in high school. They're kind of drifting apart. There's two couples. 2/3 of the gang are paired up with Max and I forget is it Ben? What's the slingshot? The guy with the slingshot. What's
Will.
his name? Will. No, not Will.
Not Will. Is it Mike?
No, not Mike. Not Dustin. The fourth guy.
Running it down.
I can't remember his name. But Max and him are a couple. Yep.
Oh. What's funny is I couldn't even remember his name. Like they didn't say it for like the first couple of episodes.
I don't think I've ever known his name to be true.
No, that's the thing. Is what's gosh
He's
dang
probably
it.
my least favorite character.
I'm looking it up. I don't know.
Yep,
You don't know either.
Oh boy, we're gonna be in trouble here if we don't figure out this kid's name.
The fifth wheel. That's what I'm gonna call him, FW.
Oh boy. Lucas
and Max. Dang. Lucas and Max are paired up.
Yep.
And Elle and Mike are paired up, and that leaves Will and Dustin. And there's a scene where they're on the hill, playing around with Dustin's homemade shortwave radio.
You said Dustin was single, but he's got a girlfriend. That's hotter than baby cakes that he's trying to talk to. It's just just want to bring that up and bring that out there.
Right. His girlfriend might be imaginary. But,
could be.
It could just be BSing.
Yeah.
But Will tells him, hey, maybe we can play D&D, like we used to. But I get the feeling that, they're kind of growing past that stage of, the four of them hanging out, the four musketeers hanging out and playing their, Dungeons and Dragons or, going on their little adventures because they're becoming young adults. And I think that'll be a big part of the show. I've only watched the first episode. I don't know, Joe, you finished this season?
I have.
But I think that growing apart and maybe rallying to come back together in the last episode will be a big part of it. I just get that feeling. I don't know. Will, while we're climbing that hill, has a little flash again, Joe, right, where he can sense the upside down still.
Yes, he can, and he can sense that there's something afoot in the universe. And for those of you who have watched the episode, I'm trying to remember. Is it the first episode where Billy is driving his car over there?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That's how that ends, actually.
Yep. Yes.
Perfect. So Max's brother's Billy, and you guys might recognize him from the Power Rangers movie as one of the main characters.
Right.
He plays the douchey lifeguard, handsome brother of Max.
Right. He's a little bit abusive to his sister as well from season 2, right?
Yep, and he's I believe he's someone's mom, Mike's mom, right?
Right, Mrs. Wheeler.
Yeah. Mike's mom is at the pool, and she kind of talks with him, and
what a great scene.
Yeah, they're gonna go meet each other at some hotel and have a happy time.
Right, the community pool where Billy works. All of the moms are kind of like
the MILFs.
Yeah, all the MILFs are lounging about the pool next to each other, waiting for the girl lifeguard shift to end and for Billy to come out. And they play the Cars moving in stereo, just like the Phoebe Cates scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Billy walks out, and he's like, looking good, Mrs. Wheeler, and they have this great scene together. I got to tell you, if Mrs. Wheeler's going to be a little bit more of a bigger character in this season, I'll enjoy it a lot more because she looked pretty good, man. I got to tell you. I'm a little bit old. She would be a little bit older than you guys. I think Dan and I would probably like her a bit more than you, but Aldo for sure.
Nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
And Billy talks Mrs. Wheeler into going on a date with him. He's got to be 19 years old maybe, and she's probably 40ish, 50ish.
Yeah,
and,
I don't know if you could call it a date though, Tooch.
No, well,
it's more of a rendezvous.
A rendezvous at the local motel where Billy has promised to give Mrs. Wheeler some private lessons.
That's right.
He's certainly not lacking for confidence, but...
See, this is how we sell Dan on the show.
Right, on the way to his rendezvous at the motel. I wish Dan would like it if Cassie was there too. Right. But Mrs. Wheeler, not bad to look at, but Mrs. Wheeler's husband, I don't know, man, he really outkicked his coverage, Joe.
He looks like Bill Gates.
Oh, boy. Yeah, not a handsome man. Mrs. Wheeler ready to step out, though. I think of course, Billy doesn't make it to the rendezvous, Aaron. Do you remember what happened to Billy?
Yep, at the very end, and it never really, correct me if I'm wrong, it never showed what he hit. But something hits Billy's windshield.
Right.
He spins out and crashes his Camaro,
something
smashes
slimy.
into a tower. Yeah, because he was messing with it. So he crashes into this tower and he's out checking out the Camaro and looking at all the damage, and then something that we don't really see, we just assume it's some kind of a tentacle, somehow reaches all the way out of the basement of the warehouse and grabs him and drags him down.
Right, and that's where the episode ends. We don't know what happens to Billy. But he never makes it to his date with Mrs. Wheeler. So Mrs. Wheeler and Mr. Wheeler might have some things to work out in future episodes. But we've reached the end of our show, and I want to thank our guest, Bears fan Dan Aguire. Always great to have Dan on. Aaron Michalski, as usual.
Yes, sir.
Breaking records here for appearances on I Have a Stream.
Right on. Happy to be here.
Follow Dan Aguire at BearsFanDan on Twitter. Follow Aaron Michalski at AMichalski88 on Twitter. And my sidekick and super producer Joe Mandel at Joe Mandel on Twitter. Follow me at Santucci _John at Yahoo. At Twitter at Santucci _John. Follow at I Have a Stream Pod on Twitter. Follow at Bears Barroom on Twitter as well for Bears Barroom Radio Network. Coming up, Box Office Barflies and their review of Spider-Man Far From Home coming up.
That's right. Coming up on Wednesday evening. Tooch, right. It sounds like I talked to the barkeeper himself. I think we're going live Wednesday night.
Very cool.
I think same time slot. I think 8 o'clock. And nice. We are going to have a special guest, John. You want to tell our listeners who it's going to be?
He has not officially confirmed,
but Maybe he will be. I shouldn't say that. But anyway, it's going to be Ethan Colchimiro, most likely.
Oh, nice.
For all you
Very
guys
cool.
out there, he's a comic artist and comic super fan.
Yeah,
Excellent.
He knows everything about comics.
Super cool.
So if you go see Spider-Man Far From Home, or you're thinking about going to see it, tune in to that one. It's going to be great. Joe will take us out with a little television.
We will, and I know Dan Aguire's still hanging around there. I'm curious before we can finish the show if we were able to sell him on Stranger Things.
He's thinking about it.
No, not really.
No,
honestly,
to me, I think it's the best show on Netflix. I got to be honest with you.
Oh, no kidding. See, I got to disagree with you there 100%. I think there are way better shows out there.
What's better?
Quick question
What's
for you.
better?
Yeah.
Oh God. Altered Carbon for one.
That was okay. That was good.
Altered Carbon. I'd take. I mean, I dig Stranger Things. But there's way better Netflix originals out there than Stranger Things. But again, you live through it. You got a nostalgia factor, and I don't. So
yeah, true.
I respect your opinion there.
Joe, what's better than Stranger Things?
I was going to say I think Glow is a better show all around. If you have not seen Glow,
I have not. It's on my list though.
Okay.
Season 3 comes out in August, so that's another show we'll be talking about soon.
What about Dan? What's the best Netflix show you've seen?
I don't watch Netflix actually. I'm old.
Okay.
I'm 38. I watch TV on TV. But let me ask you a quick question before we need to go.
Yeah.
I just saw this, so it's kind of breaking news if you watch the show and care. I've watched every episode of American Horror Story. I don't know if you all watched that.
Oh man.
Well,
Sarah I'm so far behind, but that's a great show.
Sarah Paulson apparently is not going to be in season 9, which is on the show is a big deal. She's been on. She's basically the hero of every fucking season, which is annoying to me. But for fans of the show, that's
your wish.
That's a big one.
Man, the first 3 seasons were absolute brilliance. Season 1 was brilliant.
I like Asylum.
Season 2 was great too, man. Oh boy. I kind of lost after that. I wasn't watching that much TV when around
5 is
4,
unbelievable.
That's the one I want to see.
Hotel is fucking great, and I liked Freak Show too. But I digress.
The Coven was a little. I don't know. It was my least.
Sucked.
Yeah, Coven sucked. I thought that's kind of lost me around there, but I love the concept. American Horror Story. All right. Well, Dan, I hope you give Stranger Things a chance. Maybe check out the first.
If Cassie will show me her breasts, I will watch it.
Maybe Mrs. Wheeler will go see Midsummer.
Midsummer's good, I'm telling you.
All right, guys. Thanks again for being here on Bears Bar Room Radio. Joe.
We'll take it out and see you guys next week.
All right.